Apologies for my last video. This is Vijayanagara. Vijayanagara. I don't know how to pronounce my Indian words, as is obvious. I know it starts out as Vijay. It's just hard to put so many things together when they're unfamiliar. Anyway, what this is a look at the decline of the Delhi Sultanate and the rise of two Deccan powers, as well as some Mongol invasions that happened, and Timurid invasions as well, which are contributing to the decline. Okay, so first things first, this is a coin-like game. It's the beginning of a new series. Let's see, what are they calling it? Irregular Conflict series. But it's very much based on the coin games, even though the mechanisms are different. So it doesn't really fit into it, but it has a lot of the feel. And I would argue that things like Here I Stand have kind of a coinish feel to them as well. As games that came out before coin did. I don't know, the designer's notes didn't really go into, you know, whether or not there was an idea of making a coin game on the subject matter, or if the subject matter and the design kind of came together. There's this little part of it is attributed to another GMT game, People Power. I don't know if that's a coin game. I think it is, but I'm not sure. But anyhow, that's not part of this series. So what do you have? Well, a deck of cards that is constructed, of event cards, that's constructed in a peculiar manner, which ensures that the number of Mongol invasions is kind of equally spaced out, and that certain aspects of history take place at certain times, but for the most part, they're randomized. The Mongol invaders are randomized but separated out by number of times they come in, and the other cards are all pretty much just shuffled together with some divides in place in them. The divides, I don't know if we can see one, are like this, and they tell you, you know, new, more general rules that take place. Like most coin games, you have a victory track. Unlike coin games, you don't have really an automatic victory in this. This plays out to the end. And that's important because Delhi basically starts out winning the game, as it were. They're at their maximal state, and you're going to see a slow decline. Now, obviously, you could have a, well, if they got to a certain power or whatever. I think that's going to be intriguing because one of the things the coin games and Here I Stand with their auto victory conditions created was a situation, especially with the coin games, was a situation where it was relatively easy for all the players to prevent someone from getting their automatic victory. So the game always went to the end anyway, and it would almost always end up a pretty close game because of that balance of power situation. I think this is going to avoid that. And that's something that I kind of level as a criticism against the coin series. It creates these tight games, which is probably a good thing, but it always creates them the same way, and what it comes down to is kind of the luck of the final cards in the game determine who wins. I'm not sure that's going to be the case here. We shall see. In terms of pieces, you have these little markers. These are control markers. which are kind of allegiances that work with everyone. But on the other side of the Delhi control markers are tributaries, which is a further enhancement to their power in the area. And at the beginning of the game, they start with tributaries everywhere. You can see that there's a couple of extra counters because they have tributaries everywhere. They don't have them here, but you can't. And they don't have them in Delhi, you can't. They have tributaries everywhere, which to me means, yeah, we got a couple extras. That's fine. We got a couple extra of all the wooden, we have an extra of every wooden piece. There's some cards that aren't used in the game. Some of the event cards, let's see, about a third of them don't appear in any particular game event. And likewise, I think a quarter of the Mongol invasions don't happen in any particular game. This is a player aid to tell you how attacks work and what else. What the icons mean on the different pieces. I thought that said cruelty. There's a bunch of cards to handle the bot. I'm not going to worry about the bot at all because I don't like playing my solo. I don't like playing games that are designed for solo. I like to play multiplayer games, and I like to play them solo. But to me, that's the way of exploring games a little better. You got a whole bunch of rule books here, or books. This is the main rule book. This is what I started with. There's a learn to play, which they suggest you start with. I didn't do so. I just took a brief look at it, and yeah, I made the right decision. This is what we're going to work over when we work through the rules. You have a playbook, which gives the designer's notes. I did not find them to go too much into the, hey, why this went in a different direction from coin. But I do like what I see. Every card is described here. The different empires are described, some of the history, all very useful. Not really what I expect out of a playbook because the learn to playbook. Oh, wait. We have rules and references, and we have the rules of play. Hold on. This is for the bot. Okay, we'll just ignore that. The rules of play, this is what I mainly used. The learn to play book, what it essentially does is tells you kind of about the general principle of the game, and then goes right into an example of play, which I think the idea is set this up and follow it by moving the pieces around, which could be a useful way for some people to learn. It doesn't work for me particularly. I would rather make my errors on my own, and we'll do that. I may get some things wrong, such as life. Okay. We have a brief sequence of play here, how to build the deck. A little game that's used in case there's a tie. Each player has their own player aid information. Now this says non-player player aid. I think this is for use with the bot, but it may include some interesting information as to other stuff. Maybe not. But otherwise it gives a description of what the different players' abilities are, and these are the three cards that are buried within the event deck that change the game as you go. Some dice colored for this game. I don't know if I really like the coloration on these dice. I don't know if they really are that applicable, but the coloration feels Indian in nature. And also the type of dice, well, the fact that we got 4 attack dice, 2 defense dice. Wow, sounds kind of risk-like here, right? Okay. Each player has their own one of these. Not too big a deal. Like I said, there's this reference card. What's on the board? Okay. Let's start looking. Like I said, there's a victory track, but it also is used as a general track. Now, there's something that I'm not happy with. These have a little crescent moon on them. The forts. The blue on blue printing is really hard to see. The pale red or orange on yellow, not terribly easy to see. The white on black, clear as hell. I may have to go in and deal with these. So these guys, this is the empty side. This is the marked side. And you can see a little gloss on it. But for my eyes, I'm not having an easy time distinguishing those. I think the printing could have been better. Like I said, the victory points are tracked on here, but also resources are tracked on here. Again, that feels coinish. Quite often, multiple things are on the track. Each province has different kinds of stuff. Now, these cubes are the Mongol invaders. These cubes are the army forces of the Sultanate of Delhi. These are their governors. I don't remember what these are called. They're essentially towns that you can use to create some power. These are going to be fortresses. These are emirs, which are essentially like governors, but they support this Bahmani kingdom. Now, the truth of the matter is, the two the two rebel factions, the Bahmani and the Vijayanagara, are both, they're starting at a position where they have power that isn't necessarily reflective of what they are, right? So especially with the Vijayanagara, they are, Vijayanagara? I don't know. They are, the people who ruled this don't even exist at the beginning of the game, essentially, right? Or they're very young. And the same with the Bahmani. These are more concepts, in a way, than they are the rise of the actual, like, power itself. And those concepts, down here, you're looking at an area where Hindi influences are greater. And that's what the Vijayanagara is going to represent. Now, their little markers are temples. And again, I don't remember what these are. They're not emirs because they're rajas. So again, important personalities and possibly troops involved. The governors actually definitely have troops. I don't know. I think these do as well. But these hex counters are all essentially the same kind of thing, an important personage with some military and other power in their area. These things represent a means of growing your power. Now the fortresses may be a little different. Each is a little different in and of itself. Anyway, everything starts out as a tributary. Over here we have the Deccan influence track, which is going to represent power in the Deccan plain of the two upstarts, and they get bonuses as they increase in power. Now that power is going to be increased through cards, I think through some activities that you can make, and also through combat with the opposing upstart. I don't think with combat with Delhi. And you get bonuses that are listed above. So for example, here you get a bonus on the trade action where you get more cavalry. But also once you reach certain areas, you receive additional pieces available to use. The Vijayanagara only get pieces that are available to use, although here they get compel, allows them to get more power. Conspire, I don't know, I think that allows you to start doing the conspire. This is your pool of pieces in each case for each of the powers. That's all you're going to be able to use. And over here we have a mechanism that looks a little bit like the turn control for the coin games. What you're going to have is initially you start out eligible. You may choose on your action, and your order of turn is listed here. That's going to be dictated by the event cards. You may choose a number of different things. You can choose to do a command and a decree. These are both player-specific things that you're allowed to do. Each player has their own little menu of stuff, just like in Coin. And if you do both of them, you go into here. Here, you may choose to take an event or a command. Now, this obviously is more powerful if you're doing a command because you get two things. Both of these, in general, throw you ineligible, so you don't get a turn next time. However, some events allow you to remain eligible if you choose just to do the event. And you can only choose one of these two when you go into that space. Only one person can be in each of these slots. You could do a limited command, which allows you to take the command opportunity, just like here, except only influencing one area on the map. And then you have another option, which is to pass, which gets you, I think, resources. And depending on who you are, you get more or less resources. Either of these allows you to be eligible for the next card. You don't have a hint what the next card is, if I recall correctly. So it's a little bit more scary. Like in Coin, you can look and you can see what the current card is and what the upcoming card is, and you can make your decision, do I need that upcoming card? There's not that kind of mechanism in this. What else do we have? We have Cav. Cav is going to give you bonuses in combat, and you have different things you can do with it. Whenever the Mongols attack, they have a Cav piece. And then you have these pawns, which are used, and I don't think they're really described how to use them, but they're used to mark different locations that you've activated or done something in. And it may be that, like, the command and decree need you to use two different colors. It's a pretty common thing in the Coin games. I don't know if they all had it. I think so. I'm trying to remember back to Indian Abyss, which I love. But it's just sort of a way to track what you've done in your turn. And it's kind of optional. Okay. So, what's your goal? Well, this is something that the Learn to Play actually is good at. It gets you right to, hey, what are you trying to do? With Delhi, you're trying to hold on to as much of this as possible. That's going to be your victory points. Right now, each tributary gives you points, which I think is based on this number here. And that's where their 18 starting victory points are. Okay. And then they also get points for, which could be positive or negative, for the relative success versus the Mongols. That could be up to a 3-point difference. If your resources ever go above 24, they can't go above 24. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, you can't get fooled again. I actually love that quote. If he had only sung it. The latter part. Okay. Where am I? I don't know. Right. Okay. So as the other powers, as the more rebel powers, what you want to do. So the winner is going to be whoever has the most points at the end of the game. So it's going to be a relative victory conditions here. There's no absolute or automatic. And the winner, in order to win with these, you have to get control of provinces, which gives you points the same way. And you have to get fortresses. And for these guys, you have to get control of provinces and temples. And I think both of them also add their Deccan influence into their total victory points. The actual victory point markers probably don't matter except as a device to just quickly see and track, you know, who's in what position, so you don't have to count all the time. But I can almost guarantee that they're going to, with my playthrough, they're going to end up kind of diverging from what they actually are, and I'll have to do recounts every now and then and whatnot. All that information is represented on the board for how to discern what the victory points are. The resources, not so much. Those accumulate. All right. The actual setup of the game is a fixed setup. It's printed out here. There's not scenarios or anything like that. This is just how the game starts. And for the deck, what you end up doing is you shuffle. They all have the same back, except for there's the divider cards. You shuffle the event cards in the Mongol invasion. 24 of the event cards are split into 4 decks of 6 cards each. 2 Mongol invasions are put in each of those, in the first 3 of those 6 card piles. The 4th stack gets 2 Timurid Empire cards in it. And then each of those 4 stacks is shuffled independently. About the cards, just very quickly, these are the armored premium GMT cards. I hate them. They are hard to shuffle. They hurt your hand. Luckily, you don't have a lot of reshuffling in this game. Like, I don't think there's any. But yeah, it's painful. I find the cards more easily damaged than the more flexible ones. They may have a longer lifespan in some other ways, like depending on how you shuffle. Like maybe if you do a table mash together shuffle, they actually survive pretty well. But they end up, because they're so brittle, they end up kind of cracking against each other and causing damage that more flexible cards just don't. Obviously, most people probably play with condoms on their cards, which means it doesn't matter whether or not you have armored cards or not. And the armored cards are no problem under those circumstances. I just think they spend too much on these really rigid cards. They always show up in the bigger ticket games, so I'm assuming they're the more expensive variety to produce, and I think they're a bad choice. And we've said too much about that already in all kinds of games. But anyway, then you stack the cards up, putting the division cards in between, and then you reveal the top event card. In this case, let's take a look at the card. It gives the order of play that will be in effect. I don't know when this is triggered, if this is triggered at the end of the card for the next play, or if it's on this card. We'll see when we look at the rules. There are always 2 events available. One of the events is going to be the pro other powers event, and one is going to be the pro-Delhi event. So governors repeatedly asserted independence. That's the paler color, that's for these guys. Place up to 2 emirs or rajas in both Janapur and Bengal and remove a tributary marker in one of them. That sounds like a powerful card. Criminals conscripted to reclaim Bengal. No matter who chooses this, the Delhi player may place up to 4 troops in both Janapur and Bengal and place a tributary marker on one of them. Now, you're allowed to make deals in this game, so it's possible that someone might come up with some kind of deal, maybe being given cav or something, to pick the event that helps Delhi. So we shall see, how much of that we're gonna see. I have the feeling that's unlikely because an event is a powerful thing to fire off. Some of the events will say here that they allow you to remain eligible if you pick the event. Those are probably the weaker ones. And we have a picture of that, stay eligible there. Faction order. Faction symbols along the top of each card indicate the order of play among the eligible factions. The eligible faction with the leftmost symbol appearing on the current event card is the first to choose which action to take. Ineligible factions are skipped. I think this is the order for now, which means I don't know why, this order doesn't really matter. That's left over. I told you about this, executing the event. Okay, whoever picks the event, they get to choose which of the two versions they want, but other players might be making choices within it. For example, in this one, it doesn't matter who chooses it, Delhi has the choice to place this. This one, whoever picks it gets to choose. So Delhi could pick this and pick two emirs or rajas, the hexagonal units of the other players, and do that. And I guess they could put one of each, you know, whatever. Why they would do anything like that, it's hard to tell. It's possible they might put two in favor of one person in exchange for some kind of other agreement. Those agreements, if they are executed within the scope of the current action, are binding. So someone could say, I will give you a cavalry in exchange for you doing X. Both players have to comply completely. But if you say, I'll give you a cavalry next turn when I get one in exchange, that's no longer within the scope of the action taken, and therefore it could be completely voided. You can completely ignore what you promised. I would almost certainly suggest or imply that in my own playing, we will not see anybody making any of those long-term commitments. But it's possible. It is possible. Okay. So, what happens in the sequence? Each player gets to take one of their choices. These are usable by only one player each, those circles. When you choose to do a command, you can do it in any number of spaces, perhaps even 0. And then with the decree, you would also be able to do a decree at the same time. And that is done either fully before or fully after the command, the way I read this. Execute either of the events shown on the card or a command in any number of spaces without doing any decree is this option. Once you've taken one of these circles, nobody else can pick that circle until you get flushed into the ineligible or returned back. That's possible. You have the option to pass, you remain eligible, and you get resources as indicated on the play track. If the last eligible faction passes, you adjust eligibility and draw the next card. After each eligible faction has either executed an action or passed, move any faction eligibility in ineligible, limited command, or pass back into here. And move any faction cylinders in the 2 forked options to the ineligible box, unless you ended up with a stay eligible off of playing just the event. Now, if you are still eligible when you want to play the event, they suggest you flip this over to remind you that you're not getting flushed, that you're just returning back. Okay, we're gonna take a little break and swap batteries and stuff like that. And actually chill out a little bit before we get to the meat of the game. Some of the event cards, if you paid attention during the construction description, are going to be Mongol invasions. And if you draw one of those, first either the Bahmani kingdom or there's going to be instructions on it. First either the Bahmani or Vijayanagara. See, I'm having trouble because I'm adding an extra vowel in there that is not there. Whichever is indicated in the card carries out any 2 Mongol invasion commands. Those will be specified later. Possibly the same command twice. Compromising gift. Second, the selected faction may optionally reduce its Deccan influence by 1 to gain 2 resources and 2 cavalry tokens, basically aiding or receiving aid from the Mongols in exchange for something, some kind of tribute. Play then continues without any adjustment of eligibility. Reveal the next event and continue. See, now this is what's weird. So, without adjusting eligibility. Okay, that's fine. Succession cards. 3 succession cards. Those are the guys I showed you that, are just dividers. Are evenly through there and always appear in the same order. The instructions on each card are carried out in the listed order. Play continues without adjusting eligibility. Reveal the next event card and then play the turn. Okay, here they go. These are these specials. Zenith of the Delhi Sultanate. This is the first succession card. First, there's a power struggle in Delhi. Flip the Dynasty card to the Tughlaq side. Over here. The rebel command is now available to the Bahmani Kingdom and the Vijayanagara Empire factions. That's just a capability that they don't have at the beginning. The Sultanate reimposes its dominance. The Delhi Sultanate may campaign using only Delhi and provinces, not Mongol invasion regions. Again, a capability. Military labor market thrives. The Bahmani Kingdom gains cav tokens equal to its influence track and forts on the map. So you want to build yourself up before you hit this first card. Temple towns emerge anew. The Vijayanagara Empire gains resources equal to its influence track value and temples on the map. The cav are more valuable, I think, but we shall see. The Rise of the Rebel Sultans. This is the second card. So there's 4 decks, right? So at the bottom of the first deck comes the first card. At the bottom of the second deck comes the second card. At the bottom of the third deck comes the third card. There's nothing at the bottom of the fourth deck. That's the end of the game. Okay. Delhi monitors its interests. The Delhi Sultanate may campaign using only Delhi and provinces, not Mongol invasions. Alauddin Hassan Bahman Shah gathers allies and takes the Deccan throne. The Bahmani Kingdom may execute a free limited command, then gains any combination of resources and cavalry tokens equal to the prosperity of all their Bahmani-controlled independent provinces. So a province becomes independent when the tribute is gone. It becomes controlled when a flag is put in there of the appropriate power. It is possible for Delhi to control provinces without them being tributaries. That's a weaker state. Sangama brothers establish an empire. This is the formal, actually, Vijayanagara empire. They may execute a free limited command, then gains any combination of resource and cavalry equal to the prosperity of all their controlled independent provinces, to a maximum of 3. This is also to a maximum of 3. Okay, the third one of these is the Lords of the Deccan. Renewed focus on infrastructure. The Delhi Sultanate may spend 3 resources to shift either the Bahmani or Vijayanagara influence by 1 in either direction. This action may be taken up to 3 times, each time costing 3 resources. The Bahmani network covers the Deccan. Then they're allowed to do the same. And then the Vijayanagara is allowed to do the same with a vast unifying medieval metropolis. The titles are just flavor, really. But, they match the history. Timurid Empire cards. Okay. There are Mongol invasion cards in the first 3 sections of the deck. The 4th section has 2 Timurid Empire cards. The Timurids are a successor to the Mongols. When the first Timurid Empire card is drawn, place half the available Mongol invaders in the mountain passes. This is the available. Then draw the next event card and continue to play without adjusting eligibility. When the second Timurid Empire card is drawn, carry out the Timur invades Delhi sequence described below, and on the Mongol invader faction aid. Well, where the hell is that? It's going to be here. There we go. I haven't mentioned this. This is what we actually want. This is the actual play aid. It gives the capabilities, the commands and decrees for each of the powers. We'll look at those in some detail. And it also gives the commands. The Mongols are going to always be played kind of as a bot, although players may have some influence on them. Okay. First, the Mongol invaders attack in the mountain passes, ignoring resource consequences of the attack and plunder command. Then move any remaining units from the mountain passes to the Punjab. Next, the Mongol invaders attack in Punjab, ignoring the resource and province-related consequences of the attack and plunder. Then move any remaining units, both Mongol invaders and Delhi Sultanate units, that's the same in this other, from Punjab back to Delhi. And finally, the Mongol invaders attack in Delhi, ignoring the province-related consequences. They continue to attack in this way until either no Mongol invaders or no Delhi Sultanate units remain in Delhi. The Mongol invader will always only roll 3 dice when attacking in Delhi. That'll be down somewhere else. They say 3.5. It's probably commands for the Mongols. Yeah. Once this sequence is complete, calculate the final victory scores to see which faction has won the game. So, there's a mystery game end. The game could end on the second card of that fourth portion of the deck. Dynasty card. The current reigning dynasty, that's from TV Wars, in Delhi is shown by the card, which should be placed near the Delhi Sultanate. I have that here. There's only 2. There's the Cavalry Dynasty. The rebel command may not be used while it's in place. Some event cards may still allow a rebel command or remove a tributary marker directly while they're in play. And then the Tughlaq Dynasty, the first succession card flips the dynasty card over. The rebel command is now available. That's it. That's the only effect. Commands. Okay. When you do a command, you select spaces once for any command in any one faction's turn, selected at any order and at any time during the turn. The allowed spaces for each command are indicated in the faction aid as locations. Delhi and both Mongol invasion regions are not selectable by Bahmani or Vijayanagara for any of their commands or decrees. These map spaces are not considered provinces. Single use per piece. No piece can be used more than once during a command. Free commands. Event or succession cards may sometimes grant free commands that cost no resources. A faction performing a free migrate command must still pay additional resources if they want to shift influence, which is a collateral effect. Pawns. Players may mark spaces for any type of actions with pawns. The pawns are for convenience and do not limit or affect play in any way. I don't know if the example of play tells you a way to use the pawns. I'll figure something out. They will be useful. I can guarantee that, for me at least. The Delhi Sultanate may choose from conscript, march, govern, and attack commands. Remember, there's also decrees. We haven't gotten to those yet. Conscript. This augments the Sultanate forces by placing available troops on the map. Select any tributary provinces, spaces with a Kasbah. That's what these are. Kasbah. Rock the Kasbah. And or Delhi. Spend 1 resource for each space you pick. Place up to 5 troops in Delhi, or 2 troops in a space with a Kasbah, or 1 troop in a tributary province without one. Now, obviously, you want to pick Delhi and get your points there, but you probably want to pick Kasbahs as well, because you will likely have them providing you with closer to the action forces. It's hard to move everything down from Delhi, but Delhi is very valuable in dealing with the Mongols. March. March moves troops and governors into adjacent spaces. Any spaces may be selected as destinations. Spend a resource for each selected destination space. Move any number of troops and governors from adjacent spaces into the destinations. Feels very coin-like. Units moved to each destination may come from any multiple adjacent spaces, but they can only be moved once in any given march. Govern. Govern places available governors, available again is up in here, onto the map, or uses governors already on the map to remove obedient units or construct a Kasbah. Yes. So when the unit has no marker on it, it's obedient. When it's got the invisible marking on it, it is a rebel unit and is actively opposing Delhi's control. With the emirs in particular, these are, officials of the Delhi government who are disloyal, but maybe not openly so. I'm not so sure with the Rajas. They may also be important functionaries within the kingdoms down there, which are tributaries at this point. Okay, where are we? Govern, yeah. Onto the map, or uses governors already on the map to remove obedient units and or to construct a Kasbah. Select any number of tributaries, Sultanate-controlled provinces, Mongol invasion regions, and or Delhi, and you spend one for each. Then in each selected space, you either place a governor, or if the space has a governor, I think you can place a second governor no matter what. Or if it already has a governor, you can remove up to 2 obedient units and or place a Kasbah. Now, I don't think Kasbahs disappear, so you want to be careful where you choose to place them. There may be cards that remove them, but I don't think there's a capability to destroy them. I may be wrong about that. It's been a while since I read these rules. Not all that long, but a while, and I forget things easily. Govern where there's already a governor, may both remove up to 2 obedient units and place a Kasbah, yeah. Or perform either without performing the other. Attack. Attack may remove opposing forces. Combat's going to operate kind of the same in everything, and it's going to be redescribed everywhere. Select any spaces containing rebelling units or an opposing structure without any pieces of the same faction present. It may or may not contain Sultanate units. Spend 1 resource per selected space. In each selected space, choose one faction with at least 1 rebelling unit or a structure with none of that faction's units to target as the defender. Set all units of that faction in the space to rebelling. Mongols are always considered rebelling. Yeah. All troops and governors in that space are attacking, unless they were already involved in an attack in an adjacent space. We'll see how that works. Up to 2 total troops and our governors may join the attack from one adjacent space with a Kasbah. They don't actually move, they'll just contribute to the attack and may be removed as casualties. And that's why you might have used those forces already that are in the province that you're fighting in. The attacker rolls 4 dice, or 3 if they're attacking the Bahmani kingdom and there's a fort in the space, and the defender rolls 2 dice. The attacker may use any cav tokens to reduce any die rolls or to remove opponent's dice. You want to roll low on your own dice? That's why you'd be reducing die rolls. You'd be reducing your own. After which the defender may do the same, including Mongol invaders. Finally, each side scores 1 hit for each of their modified rolls that is equal to or less than the number of their units involved in the attack, up to a maximum of 5. Rolls of 6 always miss. So there's no reason to have more than 5 points of troops in a fight. Each faction removes its own pieces equal to the number of the opponent's hits. Attacking pieces from an adjacent space may be removed either before or after those in the selected space. It says pieces. Yeah, I think you can take these out by attacking them. Obedient amirs and rajas may be attacked in tributaries, even if one rebelling unit of that faction is present. Units may only ever be evolved in a single attack during any command. There need not be Sultanate units in the space being attacked. A pure raid by only supporting Sultanate units from one adjacent space with a Kasbah is allowed. Now, look at what's happening here. All right? So, the restrictions on attacking, the place that you attack either has to have a rebelling unit, one of these guys flipped over, right? Or more than one. Or a structure without any pieces of the faction. So an unsupported structure is attackable. The idea here is that these locals who are ostensibly supporting Delhi are protecting either their fortresses or their temples, and keeping Delhi from being upset about them. But if there's no protection by officials in that area, if there's no rulers in the area that are protecting those, they can be attacked, and they can be hit if there's rebelling units in there as well. But it's the player who's taking the damage who gets to choose what the damage is. Just spelling that out, I want to make sure that you understand that. I got to swap batteries. We'll go to the commands for the other two the other two players as well. Okay. The Bahmani and the Vijayanagara are very similar to each other, and there's some similarities to the Delhi, like the attack capability. Rally. This persuades minor rulers to join the Bahmanis, placing available emirs onto the map. Select any provinces which already contain a Bahmani piece and or Maharashtra, which is going to be kind of their homeland. Even if it has no pieces, spend a resource for each selected province. Place one emir in the province, plus up to one additional emir if the province is Maharashtra, plus up to one additional emir if the province is a Bahmani controlled. Placed emirs are obedient unless the selected province is Bahmani controlled, in which case they're placed as rebelling. Migrate. Migrate moves emirs to nearby regions to begin life anew. Any provinces may be selected as destinations. Spend one resource for each destination. Move up to 3 emirs from any adjacent provinces into the destination. They become rebelling if they enter a Bahmani-controlled province, and obedient if they enter a tributary province. Otherwise, they retain their orientation. Emirs moved to each destination may come from any adjacent provinces. They may only be moved once during a single migrate. Then you're allowed to shift influence. In any up to one destination which contains a Vijayanagara piece, the Bahmani kingdom may spend one resource to increase their own influence by 1 and decrease the Vijayanagara Empire's influence by 1. And this is any space, so I'm kind of weirded out by this because the Deccan Plain is, I think, this area. But you could be doing it up here. Okay. Probably not, because they're not going to be that far north, but the Vijayanagara. If an event allows for a free migrate, influence may only be shifted in this way at the normal cost of 1 resource. So this secondary point, it's always going to cost you a resource to do. And it's probably worth it because this is a really important facet in the game between the two. Rebel. Rebel signals a sudden shift against the Delhi Sultanate. Select any number of tributary provinces in which the Bahmani pieces are the majority, outnumbering all opposing pieces combined. Spend 1 resource for each province. Flip all emirs in the province to rebelling, and remove the tributary market. The province will now be Bahmani controlled, putting the yellow marker in place of the tribute. Remember that the rebel command is normally only possible once the Tughlaq dynasty is in play. Attack. This is what's very similar. Attack is used to remove opposing pieces. You spend a resource. You choose one faction with at least one piece present to target as the defender. All emirs in the space are attacking unless they were already involved in an attack. Up to 2 emirs can join the attack from an adjacent province that has a fort. They don't actually move. The attacker rolls 4 dice, the defender rolls 2. The attacker can use Cav to reduce die rolls or remove opponent's dice, after which the defender can do the same. Finally, both sides score 1 hit for each of their modified rolls that is less than or equal to the number of their units involved. Each faction removes its own pieces. Influence shift. In any battle between the Bahmani and the Vijayanagara, the winning faction, whoever loses the fewest pieces, increases its influence by 1, if possible, while the other faction decreases its by 1. If the two factions remove the same number of pieces, there's no adjustment. Units can only be involved in a single attack during any command. There need not be emirs in a province being attacked. A pure raid by only supporting emirs from an adjacent province with a fort is allowed. And attack is only emirs, right? Yeah. Yep. The important thing for Delhi is they have 2 different types of combat units. They have troops and governors. The Vijayanagara and the Bahmani have just their personality pieces, who have troops with them, whatever, but, okay. Units can only be involved in a single attack, same stuff. All right, let's go to the Vijayanagara Empire. Rally. We had a rally over here. Rally persuades minor rulers to join the Vijayanagara Empire, placing available Rajas onto the map. Select any provinces which already contain a Vijayanagara piece and or the Karnataka, which will be their home, even if it has no pieces. Spend a resource for each province selected. Place 1 Raja in the province, plus up to 1 additional Raja if the province is Karnataka, plus up to 1 additional Raja if there's a temple present, plus up to 1 additional Raja if the province is a Vijayanagara-controlled one. Placed Rajas are obedient unless the selected province is Vijayanagara-controlled, in which case they're placed as rebelling. Same mechanism. Migrate. Again, it's going to be the same mechanism. Migrate moves Rajas to nearby regions to begin life anew. It costs 1 resource per. You move up to 3 Rajas from any adjacent provinces to the destination. You get the shift influence capability going in the opposite direction. Again, they have the same mechanism. Rebel. Same mechanism again. Select any number of tributary provinces in which the Vijayanagarans are in the majority. You spend resource. You flip all the Rajas to rebelling, and you take control of the if it's a tributary province, you take control of the province. Well, whether it's tributary or not, you take control of the province. Does it have to be? Yeah, it has to be tributary provinces. Okay. So you can't use rebel against other situations. It only works against tributaries. Interesting. Attack may remove opposing pieces. Select provinces containing opposing pieces. It may not contain Rajas. Spend a resource per selected space. It's going to be the same kind of mechanism again. 4 dice. Use Cav. Influence shift if it's between the 2 rebels. All right. You know what we haven't gotten to? How does control get determined? And I think we missed that because I think it's back here. Control. An independent province that is not a tributary may be controlled by any faction. A faction instantly takes control of an independent province if its own pieces there outnumber those of all opposing factions combined. If a faction controls an independent province, a circular marker is placed in that. If no faction controls it, it's uncontrolled and will have no circular marker. But tributary provinces are never controlled. You have to do a rebel action in order to, or something has to get rid of the tributary, right? Okay, let's go to the Mongol invader now. So interestingly enough, the Mongol has his own little commands. When a Mongol invasion card is drawn, one faction indicated on the card, either Bahmani or Vijayanagara, will select 2 Mongol commands to execute sequentially. The Mongol commands are amass, advance, and attack and plunder. Attack and plunder being a single command. The same command can be chosen twice. Amass gathers Mongol forces in the mountains. Put 3 Mongol invaders from the available into the mountain pass. Those look scarily close to each other. Like the fact that this is in that box is I don't know. I mean, where are you going to put it? But whatever. Okay. Move any now there beyond 4 into Punjab and any in Punjab beyond 4 into Delhi. This command may only be chosen if there's at least one available Mongol invader, available being not on the board. Advance. Advance marches the Mongol forces towards Delhi. Move 1 or more Mongol invaders from mountain passes into Punjab or from Punjab into Delhi. This command may only be chosen if there's at least one Mongol invader in mountain passes or Punjab, and you must move at least one of them. Seems less powerful than the amass. Like the amass is going to just start causing spillover, but we'll see. Attack and plunder. This assaults the Sultanate forces in one region and plunders the region for Sultanate resources. There need not be Sultanate pieces in the selected space. In one space with at least one Mongol invader, the player selecting the Mongol commands carries out a Mongol attack, if any Sultanate pieces are present, and then all Mongol invaders in that space will be attacking. The player currently controlling the Mongol invaders rolls 4 dice, 3 in Delhi, while the Delhi Sultanate rolls 2. The Mongol invader always has a Cav token in any battle, which is always used to charge if possible, and never for screen. Charge is where you reduce your die roll. Screen is where you take dice away from the opponent. The charge must be used to convert a miss to a hit if possible, then to reduce a 2 to a 1 if possible. The Sultanate player may then use any Cav tokens to reduce any die rolls or to remove the attacker's dice as normal. Finally, each side scores 1 hit for each of their modified rolls that is equal to or less than the number of units involved, up to a maximum of 5. Each faction removes its own pieces equal to the number of opponent's hits. Then there are further consequences depending on where the attack and plunder command took place and regardless of whether the attack actually occurred, or an attack actually occurred. In the mountain passes, for each Mongol invader remaining there, reduce Sultanate resources by 1, down to a minimum of 3. For each Mongol invader in the Punjab, reduce the Sultanate resources by 1, down to a minimum of 3, and the Sultanate player must remove a troop from any province on the map if possible. I think that is per Mongol invader they remove the troop. I think that's all included in there. It's not separated by a period and restarted. So, finally, in Delhi, reduce the Mongol invader for each Mongol invader remaining there. Reduce the Sultanate resources by 1, down to a minimum of 3. I.e., they can't go completely broke. This is the plunder limit. And the Sultanate player must remove 2 troops from any provinces on the map for each Mongol. Finally, return any Mongol invaders in excess of 3 in the selected space to the Mongol invaders' holding box. Okay. I think we need to look at something else, which is how the Cav is used. That'll be here, because it's not explained fully in the attack. The 10 Cav tokens are placed in a pool on the side of the board. They can be acquired through events, Mongol invasion, succession cards, and some decrees. The Delhi Sultanate also begins the game with 2. I did not give them to him. Why not? I don't know. They have a couple there. Glad I looked this up. When each cavalry token is earned, it is taken from the pool. If none are available in the pool, it may be taken from other factions representing a technology advance from rendering existing military technology obsolete. Store of factions earned cavalry tokens in their holding boxes. The number is open information. 2 spare ones are provided. They're, I hope, in the bag. Nah, they're just, wow, okay. I've got a a bag of excess pieces. They should not be used unless they're needed as replacements. There should always be a pool of 10 cavalry tokens between the three factions. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Cav tokens can be used during attack commands, either by the attacker or the defender, sometimes both. After both involved factions have rolled their dice, the attacker first and then the defender can use any number, either to decrease any of the spending faction's die rolls by a minimum of 1. That's a charge. And you got little markers to indicate that says charge, this says screen. Or to remove an opponent's die from the battle unless it is showing a 1, screen. Each token may be used for either effect, and the same die may be affected by charges or screens multiple times. Cav tokens gained or removed by events, Mongol invasions, succession cards, and summarized on the faction aid are represented by the little horsey tokens. Yeah. So they're one-use tokens. They allow you to improve your die so that it might go under and hit the opponent. Improve your die so it can't be removed by a screen if you can get it down to a 1, or screen and take away an opponent's die. When the Mongol invaders either attack or defend against an attack by the Delhi Sultanate, they're treated as having 1 Cav token, and it is always placed as a charge to reduce one of their die rolls by 1 if possible. The charge is first used to convert a miss to a hit, but then it can be used to convert a 2 into a 1. It must be used as effectively as possible, essentially. A single token is used as a reminder, but it's never in the shared pool. I just wanted to catch that. I knew that there were certain rules that are sort of not really important until you hit them. And rather than go through the whole Cav rules in each of these attack procedures in play, it makes sense that it's all described in one place. But it didn't really make sense reading the rules to hit the Cav tokens first, or to hit, I don't remember what the other one was. We had another thing I had to look back on, right? I don't remember what it was. The control. Yeah. Control kind of makes sense, but the Cav tokens did not. All right, we're going to pause for a bit, and we're ready to get into decrees, which is, remember, you can do a command and a decree, or the event or command as your choices here, or a limited command. Limited command is just a command in one location. And you can kind of see from the commands why, yeah, that might be sufficient. You know, let's just keep ourselves active in case we're interested in the next event or in case something important has to happen. Right? Sounds it to me. Okay, let's look. We have commands, now we have decrees. If you're executing the command and decree option, you can choose one of the decrees listed on your faction aid sheet to perform. All decrees can be used in conjunction with all commands. The decree can be used either before or after the full command, or you could just do one of the two. Like if you only wanted to do a command, but this is taken, you could do this. Okay. Decrees. The Delhi Sultanate. Collect tribute. This raises resources and cavalry from your tributaries. Gain resources equal to half the total tributary prosperity rounded down, and gain 2 cavalry. Now, for your edification, the tributary prosperity is right there. That's your victory points, right? I think so. Total tributary, Timur invasion aftermath. Yeah. Okay. So you've got it on a track very easily, which is important because, man, there's a lot of tributaries. You don't want to be adding them up all the time. But, on the other hand, if you can't keep your tracks straight. Okay. So you get half the prosperity and 2 cav. Campaign. Campaign redeploys troops and governors over long distances along a single route. Move any number of Sultanate units, troops and governors, from a single origin space to a single destination space up to 3 spaces away. But you can pick up and drop off things along the way. So you pick an origin space, you pick a destination within 3, you trace your path, and you can kind of arrange things along that path. Obviously, it goes in one direction, but all right. And demand obedience. This places a tributary marker in a Sultanate-controlled independent province. Immediately extracts resources equal to the prosperity of those provinces. In Sultanate-controlled independent provinces. Immediately extracts resources equal to the prosperity of those provinces and flips emirs and rajas there to obedient. In any number of Sultanate-controlled provinces with a governor, replace the Sultanate-controlled marker with a tributary marker and flip all rebelling units to obedient. Increase the Sultanate resources by the combined prosperity. Okay. The Bahmani. They can trade. This enhances their resources and cavalry through economic engagement in the Deccan and with foreign powers. Cavalry is acquired more readily when their influence is high. You gain resources equal to the number of provinces containing a Bahmani piece and then gain 1 cavalry. You don't own the territory necessarily, you just have to have a piece there. However, if your influence has gone up to 1 or 3 or above, you get additional cavalry. 2 instead of 1 here, and 3 instead of 1 here. Build. Build constructs a fort in a province which contains an emir. You place a fort in one province that contains an emir. Each space can only have 1 fort, and it must come from the available box. Conspire. Conspire represents the formation of new bonds with aggrieved powers, particularly when Bahmani influence is high. In up to 2 different provinces with a Bahmani piece, replace a governor, a Sultanate piece, with a Bahmani piece, with an emir, either obedient or rebelling as desired. If your influence is at 2 or higher, where you get the conspire advantage, the Bahmani kingdom may instead replace governors or rajas in or adjacent to provinces containing Bahmani pieces. Rebelling rajas must be placed with rebelling emirs, otherwise emirs may be placed either obedient or rebelling as desired. Still only 2 different provinces though. Okay. The Vijayanagara. They can choose tax, build, and compel. Tax. This gives them resources from provinces they control. They get resources equal to the combined prosperity of all their controlled provinces, plus a number of temples on the map. Now consider the trade, the Bahmani trade, is just locations with their pieces in it. They can generate cash through decrees without owning the territory because they're ruling their territory in the name of Delhi. The Vijayanagara, not so much. Gain resources equal to combined prosperity of all their provinces plus the number of temples. Yeah, okay. Build. This constructs a temple in one province containing a Raja. Place a temple in one province that contains a Raja. Each space may only contain 1 temple. The temple must come from their available box. So again, a strict limit. And once they're on the board, you can't just move them. Compel. The compel forms ties with minor kingdoms in nearby regions, relationships which are more immediately useful when their influence is high. In one province, with or adjacent to a Vijayanagara piece, place up to 2 available Rajas, or move in up to 2 Rajas from an adjacent province. If desired, 1 new Raja can be placed and 1 existing one can be moved. Placed ones begin obedient unless the selected province is Vijayanagara controlled, in which case they are placed rebelling. The moved ones stay however they are. If Vijayanagara influence is at 2 or higher, also gain a Cav token and remove up to 1 troop, governor, or emir in the selected provinces. If removing a Sultanate unit, though, any Rajas just placed are moved to rebelling. How you win? Each faction has unique ways of gaining victory points. The winning faction is the one with the greatest number after the Timur invades Delhi sequence. Remember, there's an event card essentially for that in the fourth portion of the deck. Is carried out. Any ties are broken by the number of resources held. An optional second tiebreaker is the winner of the game of Adu Huli, the goat tiger game. If we don't get to play it, I may play it as a separate thing. I don't know. I don't have it elsewise, but it's sort of an asymmetrical, abstract strategy game. And it uses this little board. You're trying to surround the tigers and starve them with goats. All those damn goats can starve the tigers by being too dense. Okay, Delhi, I told you, the victory point is the number of prosperity of the tributary provinces, but at the end of the game, they add victory points equal to 3 minus the number of Mongol invaders present in Delhi, which cannot go lower than -3. So they can go anywhere from plus or minus 3 from the amount of locations they hold as tributaries. Bahmani have total prosperity of their controlled provinces plus the number of forts on the map plus the Deccan influence. And the Vijayanagara, total prosperity plus the number of temples plus their Deccan influence. Narrative outcomes. The historical outcomes saw the Delhi Sultanate shrinking away from the Deccan Plateau even before the arrival of the Timur, with tributes being denied by rebelling provinces. The Tughlaqs were unable to maintain a large standing army, opening to further. What are we doing here? If the Delhi Sultanate wins the game, it's because the player has reduced the speed of the Sultanate's collapse. Oh, how depressing. Successfully protecting Delhi from Mongol invasions and retaining the southern provinces for economic support. Although its future may still look bleak. The future's so bleak. I don't know what you'd wear. You gotta wear something. But, I don't know, glasses. Reading glasses. There we go. If the Bahmani wins the game, it's because the player successfully conspired with the governors of Delhi to rebel against it, better leveraging an early advantage in military technology to claim a wider range of territories, and has spread influence to enjoy the benefits of large-scale immigration and attraction of great minds from afar. And if the Vijayanagara win, it's because the player has ensured the growth of the southern kingdom through a large population and strong economy, spread its influence widely, and weaved its origin stories into a regional cult mythology throughout the Deccan. Timur's Shadow as an optional variant. Players may wish to restrict all commands to selecting only a single space after the first Timurid Emperor card has been drawn to reduce uncertainty. I don't really agree. Like, I'm not convinced that that's like, if there was some argument in it that was going to be more historically accurate, that would be helpful. This is really helpful, this little setup thing. Okay, let us take a quick look. Like I said, the playbook doesn't feel like a playbook. It doesn't have, an expanded set of play or anything like that in it that I'm used to in a playbook. Instead, they published this Learn to Play. Let me go over what it kind of does. It goes over what the stuff is, okay? What the different pieces are, what the cards are. It's not telling you much in the way of rules. And then it just throws you into, here, do this. Here's what happens. I can't imagine learning to play that way. Right? It's like, I'm sure there are people for whom that works, because otherwise, they wouldn't do this and put it forward as the learn how to play. But man, I just do not get this at all. Now, they give a teaching guide, which is kind of a, what do you do? Set up the game. Okay, great. Introduce the topic of the game. Ooh. Assign a faction to each player. Yeah. You will lose because I'm making you Delhi. They're the hardest of the factions. I think the Vijayanagara is the easiest. Victory is direct comparison. Yeah. Different kinds of spaces. Sure. Turn over the first card. Describe the general sequence of play. Review the available commands. Finally, use one of the spare Mongol invasions to explain the invasion. I'm not denying that this might be more effective. Like some bozo basically working his way through all the rules and giving you everything, like I just did, may not be terribly useful. However, I really don't like walking into a game and not having had all the rules presented to me. Even if they were all presented and I didn't pay attention to half of them. I mean, look, ideally, you want everybody to read the rules, right? It's just the way games work. With a coin game, could you get a little bit better? Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, in coin games, tends to be zone out on your charts and see what your activities do. Have a focus on how you're going to play, how you're going to win, and just go do it. All right, I think our sequence is programmed up there then, which means this goes like this. We're about ready to start. Not going to even touch the bots. Essentially, though, you can play without any player, without any two players. I bet you could have it play itself in a game that has like triple bots. And remember, the Mongols are essentially a bot too. You could probably just watch it play, and that might be kind of neat. I know that if I had, like, I remember playing certain computer games where I like to just watch them play. In a way, Crusader Kings, which I tried playing recently, went and bought the most recent, and it was a waste of money because the damn game is just, it's too slow at loading. I forgot. Like, I don't know. I think I had that effect happening on my computer. I was not expecting it on my wife's computer at all. But there are no SSDs or anything like that on it, so that kind of makes sense. But I'm just not going to pick up Paradox games anymore because they're just loading the batch from these huge save files. It just doesn't work very well. They're just too big. At least until I can prove that I can cope with them. And yeah, we'll get started on this. It's Thursday, so I probably won't finish it before I go dancing, but it'll be fun to get a little bit in at least. Up it goes.